and welcome to the Turtle Tracks podcast. This is your host, Brian VanHooker, and I am here with Andrew Joustra, the screenwriter of the new animated short Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Chrome Alone 2 Lost New Jersey, which is in theaters now with SpongBob, the new SpongBob movie. Andrew, thanks so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Of course. Happy to chat with you again.
I just saw this short, and I absolutely love it. I mean, it's
Thank you.
Got the same beautiful artwork that the movie has. But now with a nice touch of wintry Christmas goodness in it. I just really want to tell you how much I enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you. No, I'm so glad. And yeah, we had a lot of the same team from the movie worked on this. So a lot of our visual development artists, story artists, our team at Mikros that animated it. So we had the A team working on this one too. So
tell me where this started, like, because this is nothing like having an animated short. I mean, I love any animated short attached to a movie because I'm a big like movie guy and I love Looney Tunes and things like that. So how did it come that they were going to do any kind of animated short for Turtles?
yeah, so it would have been back in gosh, can you hear my cat screaming at the door, or is that cut
No,
out?
I didn't.
Okay, great. If you hear him, just let me know.
If you need
Yeah,
to
I
tend
think
to your screaming cat, it's okay too.
no, he's okay. Back in January of last year, 2024, we were just getting started on the sequel to Mutant Mayhem, and uh, my producer Ramsey McBean mentioned to me that the studio was considering doing a short in conjunction with Playmates, and kind of gave me the tip to be like, hey, you might want to put some pitches together just because we're not sure what we want to do with it yet. And I had been harassing him on the first movie of like, oh, we should do a short between the two movies and all this stuff. So I was like already the wheels were already turning, and so pretty much immediately I ran off and came up with a bunch of pitches. And Jeff Rowe, our director, who was going to be producing the short, um, graciously met with me and listened to them, and there were a handful of them that we kind of went back and forth on, and then the one that he kind of gravitated towards was very different from what the final thing became, but it was a holiday, like Christmas holiday themed one about the Turtles. It was their first holiday season that they were able to spend above ground in the city and their Christmas shopping. And it had something vaguely to do with toys. And Jeff had the thought of like, what if they saw toys that were like bizarre, uncanny versions of themselves? And so I thought that was really funny, and I kind of ran with that, and I came up with an outline. And trying to think, it was within a matter of weeks that I heard that they were really actively thinking that they were going to go forward with making a short, and it was at this point that they were like, we're going to start taking meetings with like seasoned screenwriters and get pitches. And so I'm thinking, oh, I'm probably toast. I'm probably out of the running for this, just because I'm a script coordinator. I don't have any credits. It's part of the process. But for me, I was also like, this is a huge opportunity. I will take a chance. And so I think over the course of like 3 days, a long weekend, I went home and just wrote a full draft on spec of it. And I remember it being like Sunday night and sitting there, and I have it in a draft of an email to Jeff. And I'm like, oh God, like, should I send him this? Like, what if he hates it? And so I was like, like, what do I have to lose? So I sent it to him, and I was like, hey, if this is not what you're looking for, forget I ever sent it to you, but maybe it's something. And he actually got back to me the same night and was like, hey, I think this could actually be really fun. Like, we should talk about this more. So that week he sent it to the team at Point Grey and our producers at Paramount, and they all were like, I think this is what we want to do. So um, yeah, it was amazing. I was thrilled, and so within a month or so, they got me signed on as the actual screenwriter of it, and we did a bunch of notes and got started on it. So yeah, that's
At
that's
what
kind of how it
point?
came into being. Yeah.
At what point did Chrome Dome become? So to be clear, like for those, I mean, this is gonna be full of spoilers. So if you haven't seen it yet, please,
Yeah,
like
but
pause the
watch it
episode.
first. Yeah.
Yeah, you go watch it. But like, at what point did Chrome Dome become the villain for this thing?
First draft, actually. That was my basically the parameters they gave me, just because when you have a short like this, you have budget constraints, you have time constraints, and so it's like, okay, we can have the turtles and probably one other new character that is a complex character to design and rig and all that.
Hmm.
So I was like, okay, it's got to be that's got the fifth character must be the bad guy. And once we latched on to the idea of these toys, it was like, okay, uh, let's have them go to the toy factory where they're made and encounter a robot. And the very first draft, he was just a security robot, which I'm sure all toy companies have, right? No,
Playmates has one. They have
Playmates has
the
one. Yeah,
killer security
Hasbro.
robot. Yeah.
Yeah. But I was like, okay, let's have a security robot, and just early ideas at the time. It's like, oh, maybe he what if this robot is responsible for the production of these toys, or whatever it may be. And so but yeah, from that very first draft I was like, oh, let's use Chrome Dome, because I knew we probably wouldn't be using him in the movies, and
Yeah.
his original purpose was protecting the Technodrome. So it's like, oh, let's have him protecting this toy factory. So that's how we chose him. And I just thought the original Chrome Dome was this really cool design. Like the toy was, the Playmates toy was shiny, and he showed up in the 80s cartoon a few times. So I thought that was a character. It's like, okay, we could take one that people may recognize, but it's okay if we took some liberties with him. And so I was really excited that everybody was down to use him, and that was actually an easy decision. Like nobody pushed back on that from the start. So
And like like it's very heavy, to my delight, anti-AI.
yes.
Um, how did that factor in? Was that like, when did that become part of the story?
Yeah, it was really only kind of hinted at. Like in my early drafts, I had it so that when they got to the toy factory, they kind of saw that there were malicious intentions that the toy company had in these toys. Like the toys were trying to collect social security numbers and credit card information from the kids that bought them. And um, at that point, we're like, oh, maybe there's AI integrated in the toys. Maybe the toy company just cheaped out on the reason these designs are so wacky and bad is because they laid off all of their human creatives, and this is what they used to make
Sure.
them. Um, and it was about halfway through. I went probably the summer of 2024. We had a screening. It was funny. It went well, but afterwards, Jeff pulled me and our director Kent Seki and producer Ramsey McBean and um, into a room, and we all just kind of talked about it. And we're like, okay, what we have here is good, but we could really lean into this and actually have something to say with the short if we focus it more on AI and its impact on storytelling and consumerism and all of that. And so um, we all kind of unanimously were like, all right, let's do it. Let's really go for it. So that weekend, I took a pass at the script. Jeff took a pass at the script. We both kind of like tinkered with it a bit, sent it to the story department. Um, and it took some time for it to really find its footing after that. But then
Hmm.
once it did, we were like, this is what we have to make. This is the strongest version of it. And that's also when Chrome Dome evolved as a character. Because my first few drafts, like I said, he was a security robot. He barely had a personality. He's just this one-dimensional, robot that had some comedic lines. But once we decided that the AI inhabited him and that he is the factory, he is everything that's creating the Tubular Tortoise Karate Warriors. That's when we were able to be like, okay, he's kind of this sort of tech bro in this robot body that uh, uh, fancies himself a creative genius, but really he's just leaning on the work that's already been created and that's out there in the world. And that's also when we ended up casting Zach Woods to voice him, um, which I'll take a lot of credit for, just because once we leaned that direction, I've watched a lot of his stuff, Silicon Valley and The Office, and I just thought that he does such a great job at being this kind of disarming, intellectual, nice character who has this darkness underneath him.
Yeah.
Um, and so I thought he was the perfect part, and we recorded him, and he brought more to the character as well. Like obviously he's such a smart guy. He's really familiar with AI and how that's impacting the entertainment industry, and was able to just bring all of that and his sensibilities and comedic timing and all of that to the character, which was great.
That his AI origin story, like it's such a great like combination of so many bad ideas, like
Yeah.
knockoffs of Batman and Iron Man and all this other stuff. It's just I really enjoyed the origin story. It's
Oh, thank you. That was so fun to write. That was also something that came even after we decided to really dig into the AI angle. For a long time, it had kind of a placeholder there of like, because we needed some sort of backstory on how Chrome Dome came to be and how this toy company came to be. And so there was a character that Jeff came up called Archibald Mirthmaker, who was like this toy creator, and ended up making an AI program that became a sentient robot and kind of went crazy after years. Um, which again was funny. It worked for what it was, but we were trying to do something different and really weird. And yeah, my producer Ramsey McBean suggests it's like, what if we just like do something where we're just ripping off everything. Like we just like every origin story that you see in superhero films or sci-fi movies that people are familiar with, but like in just a bizarre sort of South Park nonsensical way. Um, and so I was like, okay, and I took that, and like I had just come back from San Diego Comic-Con, so like all of that was already swirling around in my
sure.
head, and like I didn't even like, I'd like to say that I don't have all those nerdy references just in my brain, but yeah, I probably wrote the first draft of that in like 3 hours, and we had amazing board artist Joe Johnson take that and boarded it probably less than a week, like heroically, and we put it up, and it was just so funny. And um yeah, we were like, okay, this is it. We finally cracked it. And the art style for it too, which obviously it's not um the same, CG as the rest of it.
Hmm.
We tried a couple different versions of that. There was more of a vector graphics version, and um the word that our art team kept coming back with, our Tiffany Lamb, who's on our visual development team, was like, AI art is tacky. That's the word for it. And so it's like, how can we make it tacky, but also look really cool? And so they did some tests of different things, and our production or art director on the short, Garrett Lee, um, came up with this dithering effect where it looks almost like pixel art. Uh, and so we worked with animation vendor Wiz, who did an amazing job putting that together. And I love how it looks visually. I'd watch a whole movie like that.
The Pride Rock scene and Tony the Tiger and Pink Panther and Toucan Sam and all these other big
Yeah.
birds there, like all the knock every like I went back and like I paused it and checked like all the different characters that are thrown in there. It's so
Yeah.
great. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, we had to go through a lot of conversations with the legal department, just because it was like how
Well, that's
much
the
how
point though, right? Like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And luckily it is satire, all of that,
Sure.
and we changed the character models enough that
Oh yeah,
it's
clearly.
um but yeah, when you're looking in there, you see references to Spider-Man, Iron Man, Lord of the Rings, yeah, Lion King, um, and in that Pride Rock scene, like yeah, Garrett, we had a version where it was just um, Gandalf on Pride Rock, and then Chrome Dome comes and kicks him off, and it looked cool. But then yeah, he started putting a couple of those characters down there, and we're like, let's do more of that. So like the next pass he had, there were like 20 of them, and that was so funny, and we were like, okay, we got to keep that, and yeah, I can't believe we got away with it, but I'm glad we did. So
The how did Chrome Dome get that crazy design? Because it's feels
yeah,
I mean, when they show the toy in that commercial, it
yes,
feels like an old toy, which is what I liked about it.
yeah. Um, that was such a difficult process. One that was I'm really glad that we did. But we really put our character designer Woodrow White, who he designed all the Tubular Tortoise Karate Warriors. He did a lot of the mutants on Mutant Mayhem. Um, he had, again, when it was just kind of a basic security robot, he had done this really cool design that also paid homage to the original Chrome Dome, but it kind of looked more like a sort of mech version of him that took inspiration from like 80s computers. It had floppy disk and fan and all that, and it looked like an old Mac. And we all liked it, but Jeff really wanted to go further with it, and he was like, "This is cool. It feels a little familiar. Like we really want this to be something that that yeah might feel familiar, like you're saying, with the old toys, but also is something that's like we haven't seen before." And so it, he had something in his mind that he just kept trying to convey, and he did some sketches, and we actually had this really fun meeting where we got in a conference room with Woodrow and some of our viz dev artists, and we sat in there for like hours, like like I was doodling, Kent was doodling, like putting up stuff on the boards. And I'm trying to remember, like, there were obviously inspiration from that original Chrome Dome design. You can see the kind of parallel lines that go up and down him
Yep,
uh
sure,
on his
yeah.
head, like that comes in there. You kind of see some of the buttons and stuff. Um, but I can remember the first thing Jeff saying is like something like, what does like a Guardian type character look like? And so we looked at Guardians in different movies, and um, so finally, it at some point they did these sketches that are like, very close to what he ended up being, and it was like this is like somehow, yes, familiar, but also something we've never seen. And
Hmm.
and there was a lot of thought put into it in terms of the AI aspect of, it's like, what would what would this sort of narcissistic thief almost want his image to be? And so, he's this glorious, shiny looking robot that from a distance looks super high tech and amazing. But when you get closer to him, there's all these things that don't make sense. It's like, why did he give himself abs? Why, why does he have like this, chiseled face with like cheekbones in his vector graphics on his screen? Why does he have a floppy disk drive? So kind of all of that worked in harmony to um, show show his character, but also give something that's like just a unique design. Yeah.
The talk to me about the turtles because I love the way they look in the first part of the thing where they're in their winter gear. I
Yeah.
love that they have no masks. I love that, like I really love how they look in that. Did you have a hand in developing the looks for that at all, or
Um, that credit for that I really got to give to Garrett Lee, our art director.
okay?
I I think just in the script that I said that they were out Christmas shopping and they were decked out in holiday apparel. Just because I wanted it to be. This is something that we haven't really seen before in Turtles, in that after Mutant Mayhem, they're able to be out in the world now. So this is their first holiday season where they don't have to be sneaking around. They can walk, down Fifth Avenue and go shopping and be normal teenagers for once. And so I wanted us to immediately start the short by jumping into that and
Mm.
seeing them enjoying something that up until now they've only watched people doing that from afar or on TV or that kind of thing. Um, so, but yeah, Garrett had the idea of like, okay, let's give Donnie his puffer jacket. Let's give, Leo this, pea coat where he looks a little bit formal, and um Raph's hoodie and jumpsuit type thing. And then Mikey the Christmas sweater,
Love
which
it.
I think is everybody's favorite.
Oh
But
yeah,
yeah, it's just like let's give him
it's
an orange Christmas
adorable. I
sweater,
mean, it really is.
Christmas tree, just says ho. And so and obviously the color scheme had to match their bandana colors. So but I'm so happy with how those turned out, and I thought they were really cute.
I wanted to talk about the creation of those uh the uh the tortoises, the
Yeah.
knockoffs. How did they how did those characters take shape? Their names, their stupid designs. Like, tell me about all that stuff.
Yeah, so when when Jeff and I were talking about them seeing them being sold, my first thought went to that old Mirage comic where the turtles are looking through Chet's toy store window and there's like a Christmas toy display of like a train and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, sure.
And so that was my like, okay, they need to be
That's the
walking down the,
Michelangelo thing. It's
yes, yeah.
yeah,
So have them walking down the street and be taken aback by something they see in this window display. Um, which, yeah, that's it, that ended up evolving into the commercial, which our story artist John Jackson pitched. That it's like, oh, because originally I just had a display of all the toys there, and they went inside, and then they're looking at the toys and reading about them and stuff. But it's like we have 7.5 minutes. We got to communicate this information really
sure.
quickly. So it's like, okay, they get there and just like commercial comes on, tells you everything you need to know immediately, where the toy factory is, Jersey. Um, but that's kind of how we ended up doing that. But yeah, the designs of the tortoise warriors themselves, like um, in the first movie, and some of the criticism of our turtles designs are that compared to other versions, they're a little lankier, they're not quite as muscular and beefy.
Sure.
So we kind of it was sort of a therapeutic thing where it's like, what if
This is
we
what
just
you
push
like. We'll
that?
give it to you. Yeah.
Yep, let's just push it to the absolute extreme. So, when we launched Woodrow on it, it's like just push it super far and make it ridiculous. And um, I did have a line in the first script that was like one of them, looking at them like, why are we so veiny? And like I can remember telling Woodrow, it's like put veins on them, make them look ridiculous. Um, so he nailed those fairly quickly. He did a couple passes at them, and he looked at a lot of knockoff turtles, you know, that were made in the 80s and 90s, like ones that you
Mm.
would find. And if you look at them, there's just a lot of things like, if you squint your eyes and you're across the room, it's like, okay, those are Ninja Turtles, but like most AI art, if you look a little carefully, there's something wrong with it. And so, they have shoes on that are just kind of spray painted the same color as the rest of their body. Um, they each of them have 5 fingers instead of 3 fingers, like a
Sure.
Ninja Turtle should have. Um, if you look at where their joints are, like their waist, like it turns where their belt buckles are, like it's not even separate pieces. Um, and like the way their shells are attached on the back, it almost just looks like they're backpacks with straps
They
versus
look like
actual.
He-Man figures to
They
me.
look like, yeah,
Like,
they look a
yeah,
lot like He-Man figures, and it's like it almost kind of looks like there's a collaboration that Mattel did, the Masters of the Universe
sure.
Ninja Turtles one, and those look really great, and they're like
Those are great toys. Yeah.
glorious and stuff. But these were like we want them to look really dumb. And I was like, okay, have their eyes kind of go in different directions and their heads misshapen, and so that's how they came to be. And yeah, Woodrow nailed it, and it was like just the perfect level of uncanny and weird, but also like ugly cute, I think. So yeah, they've been delightful to look at for the past year. But uh,
When they came out and then were announced with the toys of them too,
yeah,
like the fans went nuts, rightfully so. But that was something that like just I felt like it was really on like a turtle fan level for some reason. Like we really got it.
yeah, I'm such a big fan, and I have a huge Ninja Turtles toy collection too. And it wasn't, I mean, I figured that they would make toys from this, but it wasn't a guaranteed thing when we started it. And it was like, in my mind, just kept thinking like, okay, if we can nail that and then they can make toys of it, that'll be a huge success. So I was thrilled, and Playmates did such a great job. I mean, the toys that you see in the short, in the live action segment of the commercial, those are the toys that they're selling. Like they
It's so cool.
literally sent those to the Chapman brothers, and they filmed those. So they're kind of like some of the most screen accurate prop replicas that exist, because they're
Sure, yeah, of
actually
course.
actually in the short. Yeah.
The
Um,
what
yeah.
was the or? I mean, I'm sure we'll see it, but I'm when we spoke, you'd said that you'd put the origin story, like you got to do like the their fake origins for those two and put them on the box. What is
Yeah.
their origin story?
Uh, basic like it's just a ripoff of the Turtles. It's
Sure.
God, in terms of how they were created, like they were four tortoises, and they had toxic chemicals dumped on them, and
Sure.
um, but kind of as you'll read on the back, we talk about how they work closely with local law enforcement, and they're big on rules, and instead of pizza, they're crushing cheeseburgers. And Jeff, I got to give Jeff credit for coining horsabunga, just like
Horsabunga is great. I'm very fond of
totally.
Horsabunga.
Yeah, he came up with that for the commercial, and we're like, okay, we gotta use that. But and then each one of them, are kind of just slightly off variations of the turtles. So, Raph is a roided out muscle builder who, instead of size, has like those things that you put in the ears of corn to hold them. uh, and like Donnie, instead of actual nunchucks, he has medieval flails, which, like, I on the box I just call them medieval torture balls. And let's see, Danny has, instead of a bow staff, he has a pole vault. He uses pole vault power. And then
Okay.
finally, Nardo, instead of like traditional katanas, has like curved blades that you'd almost see in, like, Middle Eastern swordsmanship. So yeah, they're all just bizarre, not quite correct versions of the turtles.
Who named them? Was that Jeff? Did you say?
I can take credit for that one. I thought we had to use Nardo just because that joke was so funny in Mutant Mayhem.
Sure.
Uh, um, Danny was just close to Donnie. Uh, Ralph, people constantly get that wrong. Like, even on the
Is that just
Macy's.
yeah? Is that just because of autocorrect, or are people actually messing that up? I don't
I
under.
I think people, like, it's funny. Even on I've met people before that will say Ralph instead of Raph. Like, I don't know if I don't know. Like, yeah, we were watching the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade this year, and when the Turtles float went by, Al Roker says Ralph, and I was,
Wait, Broker did?
yeah, yeah.
No, man, you just knocked out
Um,
a whole tier for me. I
I
love that
know,
show. Not
but
anymore.
and then Mark for Mikey, just because it was so wrong. It's like, it's just not. It starts with an M. That's all.
Yeah.
And um and so I was delighted to see people people, I don't know, latching on to Mark as kind of their spirit tortoise. I don't know. That's not the right way to say that, but
Last thing I wanted to talk about was the use of "Gotta Get a Gift."
yes.
So over the credits, it's the from "We Wish You a Turtle Christmas," a very very bad Christmas special from I think 1993, and you have a song from that in the movie. So talk to me about how that ended up in there because that's such a
Yeah.
great deep cut.
Yeah, that I'm so glad that we got to use that. It at some point during production, we had talked about it just because that was a story point that evolved as well. Like at the beginning, they're out Christmas shopping, and um, we wanted them to still not know what they were getting for Splinter, and that's kind of how the mug that Mikey ends up giving him, that they all kind of gift him together, um, came about because we were like, oh, we should have some sort of homemade gift that's not perfect, but it has a lot of love in it and a lot of creativity in it. Is the antithesis of like whatever the AI generated gift would be.
Yeah, sure.
Um, so he pulls out the mug, and the other turtles kind of dump on it just because it's wonky, and they're like, why are you giving him that? And but none of them have a gift for Splinter. So we kind of joked about that, and at one point I brought up that song from the Christmas special, and it got to be that we were getting to the end of the movie, and we didn't have a song to go for the credits at the end. And so we were in editorial one day, and I was like, could we use that? Like, do you think that would work? And Jeff's like, let's try it. So we put it in just as temp music, and I think we had it in a screening or something, but we all loved it. And we're like, okay, we gotta make this happen somehow. So um, the I don't know if a music licensing team or somebody at Paramount, we reached out to them, and Paramount did not have the rights to it.
Right. Yeah.
So we're like, okay, well, let's hunt it down. Let's find out. So they searched around a little bit, didn't have a lot of luck. Um, I just went back and looked at the team that worked on that uh, holiday special, and found two names, the songwriter and the composer. And I think I found her contact information on her personal website.
Tish Robbie. Yeah.
Yeah, Tish. And so I sent Tish's info to them, and they reached out to her, I think, and she connected with the composer. Geez, do you remember? Do you remember his name?
Um.
We,
I
I,
have to do
I
like
feel
a quick.
terrible. I should know this.
No, 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 no. Yeah, no.
Um, let's see. Turtle Christmas. Richard Berg. Richard Berg. That's right.
Okay. Right.
So she is able to connect. Tish is able to connect us to Richard Berg. Richard is like, I have the original masters in a like storage unit like 4 hours from where I live. And so he goes and drives there and recovers them and calls us back and is like, good news is I found them. Bad news is they're in horrendous condition. They're not usable. Um, so we're like, oh God, what are we gonna do? So I bring in my old VHS tape of it and give it to Paramount's post department, and they actually rip the audio from my VHS tape, and it's good enough. So that's when you go see the short, that's what you're hearing is got to get a gift from Splinter from my old VHS tape of Very Turtle Christmas. Um, but we were thrilled that we were able to get it and put it in there, and it just works so perfectly. So
That's great. I think I'm set here. I guess, I mean, I'm going to ask you, here's a question. I know you're a fan of the Coming Out of Their Shells tour. If you were able to, just like you did with Gotta Get a Gift, if you were able to pull one of the songs out of that and shoehorn it into some other turtle thing, what would be? Give me what song from that library would you want to revive?
Oh no. Jeez. I mean, I guess just the titular coming out of their shell song, but
Sure.
or Tubin perhaps.
That's such a bad one.
Like I have no idea what context for that one, but oh man, yeah. It I'd say it didn't age well, but I don't know.
It
I
was,
don't
I
know.
mean, like, I will say
Yeah.
there's a few songs on there that are
Yeah.
legitimately catchy and
Yeah.
fun.
Oh yeah.
Pizza Power is legitimately good.
Pizza Power
But
is
there was
an
never a point in
anthem.
time where somebody thought skipping Stones was a valuable 2 minutes, right? Like,
Yeah.
even then they were like, I don't know, we need 3 minutes where the guys can go in the back and take the heads off so they don't pass out on stage. So let's have Splinter go out there.
Yeah.
Like, there was
Yeah.
never a point where that was a good song.
That and these sort of Rastafarian deck the halls in Merry Turtle Christmas
Oh
doesn't
yeah, that's
doesn't
rough.
hold up too great.
No, and like why Leo has that voice, I just
Oh my
never.
God.
Yeah,
Yeah, choices were made. But you know, it's oh man, gotta get a gift got stuck in our heads constantly after that. And I found actually our Jeff's assistant Colin found a trap remix of Gotta Get a Gift on like Spotify or Apple Music or something, which I don't even know who made it. Whoever made it, bless your heart. But we started playing that at the office as a joke, and I kid you not, at my wedding 2 months ago, I had invited a bunch of people from the movie, and at one point the DJ played that, and probably the only wedding that song has ever played at and may ever play at.
probably yes.
The DJ was so confused. He was like, "I've never seen people get excited over a Ninja Turtles Christmas song at a wedding before," and I was like, "Well, that's pretty on brand for us." So,
Dude, thanks so much for doing this. Again, everybody, check out the new SpongeBob movie, and this is attached to it. Yeah, I'm just really excited about this short. So thanks for talking to me about it.
oh, of course, it was a blast. Thanks for checking it out.
Yeah, take care.
All right.
Gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift for Splinter. Gotta get a gift for Splinter. I hate shopping in the winter. But do you get the Ninja Master who has everything? Oh, baby. Gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift for Splinter. Gotta get a gift for Splinter. He's the last one on our list. He's the only one we missed. We gotta get a gift, oh baby. Gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift for Splinter. How about a set of golf clubs? Splinter's not athletic. A bowling ball, some ice skates. You guys are pathetic. Oh, oh. Gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift for Splinter. A sweater or a necktie, an electric coffee brewer. How about a go-kart? A go-kart in the sewer, baby. Ow. Gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift for Splinter.
point out to you guys that there are only 2 hours of shopping left before Christmas.
Hello and welcome to Turtle Tracks Podcast. This is your host, Brian VanHooker, and I'm here with Kent Seki, the director of the new Ninja Turtles animated short, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Chrome Alone 2, Lost in New Jersey. You're also the cinematographer on Mutant Mayhem, correct?
That is correct. That is correct. Yes.
Yeah. Kent, thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited to talk to you.
I'm really excited to be here to talk to you. So this is great.
So I saw the short yesterday and really loved it. I mean, I guess before getting into that, though, I would love to hear about your experience on Mutant Mayhem. Like, what is a cinematographer's job in an animated film? Is it much different than one on a live action one?
It actually, there are some similarities in the Venn diagram of like cinematographer for a live action and an animated one. You do the shot selection in terms of where the camera is placed, how the characters are blocking, the lensing of the camera, and how the camera moves. That's all very common between the two things, in the sense of like what happens on a live action set. I mean, obviously the actors on the set determine where they move and how they act. But in the case of live action, a large component of cinematography is the lighting. And in animation, the lighting is governed by the art department, or really specifically the production designer. They're the ones who determine the light direction and how it works in the scene. So that's a place where a lot of cinematographers who come and consult on animated films get really confused, or not. Maybe confused is the wrong word, but like they see a real schism in the role, because how do you compose a shot without light? And so it comes from basically how 2D animated films were originally made, and like they were very much separated. But as the modern computer graphics have taken over, it does become a component. You have to consider how a shot is going to be lit in order to compose for it. And a lot of times it's your imagination based on drawings or paintings and keys that the art department has generated, that you keep that in mind when you do it. In the case of Turtles now, we are doing some rendering in software rendering in Previs to try to see what it's going to look like, to get a better feel for how the overall cinematography works together. But it is different. And I think it's one of those things that is very unique to animation.
So really, you're finding the shot and then it's being lit, as opposed to the reverse, correct?
Right, correct. Like you're not coming in and flagging it and lighting it and then shooting it. You have to basically find the shots almost in a flat shaded world to begin with. And then the lighting sort of is constructed a little bit around it. And even though the production designer's thinking about it, the art department's thinking about going into it, sometimes they don't get to it till much later. And so they're chasing with what we did. And so obviously in that situation, you can cause or compose shots that wouldn't normally have looked good, and they have to react to that. So it's a weird symbiotic relationship between the art department and my department, the previs/layout department.
Is there a particular sequence that was especially like challenging, or that you wanted to shout out from that movie?
Oh, from movie one?
Yeah.
I would say in movie one, there was the scenes that are always more challenging than people think are the talking scenes, because action scenes tend to be very much about mechanics, about describing action. But in a talking scene, especially a dramatic one where something important is happening, those are critical to the storytelling. And in Mutant Mayhem, there is a scene in which they are trying to fight Super Duper Fly. They end up hiding in this bus, and the bus gets kicked by Super Duper Fly, and it lands in this sort of almost Union Square type area, and there's a bunch of LED screens around. The Turtles come out to discover that humans have rejected all mutants.
Okay.
And they really have a dark night of the soul at that moment, and they realize that they may never be accepted by humans, and they decide in that moment to carry on. And they come up with a strategy to defeat Super Duper Fly. And that scene was very challenging. We did that in December of 2022. We started that scene. It was already boarded, and we did it exactly as it was boarded to start. And then Jeff Rowe, the director, was like, this is such an important scene. This isn't working yet. And in fact, we were supposed to deliver it to our vendor partner, Mikros, at that point, and we held back. And then we reblocked it entirely differently to reinforce the storytelling and to make it interesting, and to have the blocking really help tell the story of them coming together and working together to do it. And if you watch that scene, I'm very proud of that scene because it is effective in telling that story. At first, the scene took place all on top of the bus. They never left it. And then as the scene progressed, what we decided to do was to take the turtles and move them off of the bus. And they walk around. Leo walks away and then comes back to the group. And there's a great sort of cathartic moment that happens between them all that makes them decide to help the humans. And I think that scene was very challenging. It took multiple passes and a lot of hard work to get that to work.
That movie has such a beautiful, distinct art style.
100%, yes.
Is there anything that, like, I've talked to a number of people who worked on that. I talked to Woodrow. I talked to a bunch of others. And I'm so curious about the unique challenges that world provides. Is there anything like that in lighting that, like, it was only like this in this world?
Well, there's like, so the inspiration for the art style is teenage art. It is the art that all of us made, drawing on your notebooks or a notebook pad in class and drawing like overworked drawings and like where it doesn't quite work and it's like kind of messed up. It's almost like all of the amazing artists that we hired had to unlearn a bit of art school to like where you refine these skills and to come back to your raw self. And that informed the camera work, actually. It ended up being very much inspirational to a handheld camera when we shot the teenage turtles, when they're being teenagers, right? And so it provided unique challenges in the sense of like, for the look of it, it was CG, but we didn't want it to look CG. We wanted it to look like this amalgamation of teenage drawing style with animation. Sometimes it's animated on twos. Sometimes it's animated on, like, the cameras are animated on every frame, meaning like it's a smooth camera, but the characters are animated generally on twos, sometimes fours. And so the challenge of that for the camera perspective is sometimes you whip pan or you move the camera rapidly and the character is stepping through the frame. And so the Mikros team, animation team, had to at times constrain, which means like it's like part of the camera rig so they can move smoothly, even though they were animating every other frame. And so that creates these weird issues of trying to remove strobing from a shot that's supposed to be smooth, even though your character is animated every other frame. So that's a technical challenge that the look of it created for everybody. And luckily, our vendor partner Mikros has this amazingly talented visual effects supervisor named Mathieu Rexel, and he is a wizard, and he figured out how to deal with this. And then their heads of character animation, Jacques Daigle and Simone Cousinet, I think is his name, they figured out how to do this and get their team to make it all work.
I remember talking to, I think it was Woodrow, maybe a couple of other people about this, how, like, I've seen so many movies where, like, I love development art, and I look at development art, and it's so much more interesting sometimes than what ends up on the screen. And that wasn't the case with this one. It felt like I look at development, it looks like the same art. It's really cool.
It was an aspirational thing from Jeff. Jeff Rowe, the director, was adamant that like the final image has to look like the concept art. And I agree. So many times you're working on a film or you see a film and you see the art of book and you're like, why doesn't it look like the art of book?
Yeah,
like,
it looks it's like interesting and rough and like, but it's full of life, like that stuff.
Yeah, and I think that comes from a lot of times the edges get sanded off. There's notes. There's technical issues. Like making something not traditional CG is challenging. Like making CG things in general is challenging, time consuming, and computationally intensive. But breaking that mold and breaking it consistently is very hard. Like when you think about this idea of the drawn line that is outside of the form, right? Does it stick to it? What happens when you turn the object in 360 degrees? Do you see it turn with it, or does it stay on the edge of it even though it's turning around? You have to sort of come up with rules on those things. And then not only have to come up with rules, you have to come up with ways to do it more easily than just hand doing it every time. Because there's so many lines across the whole thing. Like, how does that operate? Does it stick to the surface? Does it stick to it when it rotates? Is it skinned or enveloped to the bones? Like all of these technical choices have to be decided in order for it to move forward with hundreds of people.
So the look of the film. Now, how was that? adapted into Chrome Alone? Like, obviously it's winter time, but like, what
Yeah.
did that, like, how much of that stuff existed already? How did it, how did it change from being, I guess it's summer or whatever to a
Mhm.
winter thing? Like, how did that all change?
So there's a good amount when you work on like a short film like Chrome Alone 2, there's still a limited budget. It's a bigger budget than a lot of places, but like still limited. And
Certainly.
we were asked to reuse assets when we could, things like cars or even that main street that we're on at the beginning is a street from Mutant Mayhem, but it is heavily modified to be winterized. Snow, the surfacing, it has to look more worn. It has to have a slightly different feel. There's, so there's things about it that can be reused, but at the same time need to be treated in a way that appears winter. So like it gives it a unique look. The fact that snow is falling, the clothing that the extras are wearing, all of that has to be translated into this new time of year, and it ends up being a lot of new things, even though there's quote reuse in some of it. So like a car can be reused, but it still has to look like the windows are fogged up, or that or the streets have to have dirty snow in the gutter and clean snow on the sidewalk, or there is a hot dog stand that was in movie one that's on the corner, like that gives it that New York feel. There's steam coming out of the hot dog dispenser. So these little things that you add to it that make it not feel like a reuse are peppered throughout. There's a new technology that was used in this that wasn't used in movie one. We had a limited budget for the crowds, and the matte painting or the digital matte painting supervisor, Arnaud, he came up with a system using Blender and grease paint in Blender to create more people. We had a limit. I think we were told you can have 15 extras. Well, it's crowded New York City street. You can't get away with that. And he came up with a system of using grease pencil because of our show style to like make gestural crowds in the distance. So there's more people than we could have afforded to put in. So like I have to give these guys this, this is why I'm so enamored, I think, in some way with Mikros, because they were a real partners for us in all of what we were doing. Arnaud Philippe Giraud, this guy, he's a little bit of a genius too, in that he was constantly thinking of how can we achieve it within the budget. Like, for example, a lot of the snow is digital matte painting snow, not effect snow. So he's generating it in his department rather than using particle systems in our 3D environment. He might be doing a 3D particle system, but he's using his own tools to do it. The thing about digital matte painting, it's changed so much in the 10 to 15 years that I've been in the industry, from like straight up, flat paintings on cards to like fully projected onto geometry, like projection maps, including using off-the-shelf software with sort of jerry-rigged together. It's a very scrappy department, so you can find savings in digital matte painting sometimes, but it can also go crazy at the same time.
I'm so glad you mentioned the street thing. There's so many. I'm a huge Turtle fan, and I love every version. But in so many previous versions, anytime they're in the city, it is bizarrely vacant. Like,
because it's expensive. Yes.
Yeah.
Like, it's funny if you look at an animated film from 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it's amazing how every time there's like a city scene, it's kind of abandoned. It's because it's expensive to put people on the street, walking around, and cars, interacting with stuff. And it was important to me that the turtles act like real teenagers in New York, and when the light changes, they go through the cars and they bisect. They're not walking in a straight line. There's people are cutting through them. Like, they're a group, but people in New York don't care, and it's part of the charm of the short for me, is like seeing them in New York and nobody cares, right? It's that nonchalance of New York that, like, it's the city's bigger than any one person, right? And people aren't stopping and gawking at them. Like, it's like business as usual. And I think that's a really interesting part of it, and you're seeing them with all the masks, which I think also is a different thing.
I love that. I love that they don't have the masks.
I think that's great.
I love seeing the turtles without their masks, because I mean, they wouldn't have them on all the time.
They wouldn't. Like, right, when you really logically play it out, like, well, I don't think when they go to school, they wouldn't have the masks on. And, like, it's like, but it becomes a different character, right? And so you have to really consider, like, well, the mask itself becomes part of the expression of the character. And so now without the mask, what does the character do? And I saw comments online about how they look strange, or, they look like frogs. And I understand that if you're not used to it, it's hard. But if you were just to think about it objectively, I think it makes sense. And so, everyone comes to the Turtles with a different perspective depending on when they grew up with them, right? Everyone has their Turtles. And so it can be really challenging when you introduce something new because it doesn't feel like canon to them.
Mm.
And I completely understand. Like every fandom has that. And Turtles certainly has a fandom based on what age you are and your entry into the franchise. And I think it's actually a very positive thing to see it reinvented every few years. I think it's very refreshing. I think that's how it's been able to be evergreen in the cultural zeitgeist. It waxes and wanes at times, but it always seems to find a new audience.
I mean, that's what I love. I mean, whenever somebody's like, "Those aren't my turtles," I mean, my whole thing is like, if we only had the couple of versions that we had in 1990, there would be no Turtles right now.
There would be none, right?
It would not exist. It would be a dead franchise. There would,
and I
it
also
would not exist.
think there's something to surprising people. Like what I like to think about is when I go to a restaurant, if I go to a nice restaurant experience, you could ask for everything you want, but then you're never surprised. But what's great about going to about restaurants for me is being surprised by what the chef has created, new flavor profiles or putting things together that I wouldn't have thought of. And I love that experimentation. I think being pleasantly surprised, sometimes you're not, but like how often in life do you ask for exactly what you want, and when you get it, you're like, well, it's exactly what I want, but it's kind of boring. I
Sure.
think the surprise is part of the fun of it. And Jeff and Seth really came up with a great angle with the authentic teenage angle on the Turtles, and the casting helped. Like these, like we call them kids, but they're adults now. They're young adults now.
Sure.
But they're great. Micah Abbey, Nicholas Cantu, Shimon Brown Jr., and Brady Noon together are fantastic as an ensemble. And I think their chemistry makes it work, and that's what I love about these guys. And recording them was super thrilling to see them, riffing on things and coming up with other pronunciations of stuff. Like that's the fun of these guys. Like they're really great.
To me, like, I mean, the art style is there's two huge, like, the movie is great. It's a great story. I'm talking about the Mutant Mayhem, but like,
Sure.
It's a great story. It's all around fantastic. The artwork is great. To me, the two biggest takeaways was the art style and those kids. Like,
Yep.
Going in, like, the Turtles have been reinvented so many times, so I don't know
Sure.
how excited I get beforehand. I'm just sort of like, I'll go in and be like, I wonder if I like this.
Yes.
And then and so when I first heard, like, oh, we're gonna have actual kids, I was like, okay, that's interesting, but I didn't think much of it. And
Yeah.
man, that is the thing that makes these
100%.
guys click. Like the first time, like how much difference it makes to have real kids playing these parts. They really feel like kids for the first time ever. And it was like, they're just fun and youthful, and like you feel it in a way that I didn't expect, and walked away like, man, that's what the Turtles need for this next take is that energy.
I think so. And it's funny because one of the first scenes we did on Mutant Mayhem was that rooftop scene where they're throwing ninja stars at like watermelons, like
Yeah.
what we call watermelon, and like filming themselves. And I at that time I had a teenage son. I'm like, that's what my son does. Like he goes out and like I literally have a video of him like on a Razor scooter that he had souped up and rebuilt with a bigger battery, so it would go like 30 miles an hour, doing jumps out in the Baylands, and his friend filming it. I'm like, that is what they're doing right now in the movie. They're doing exactly that with the ninja stars. So that's perfect. Like that's a perfect encapsulation of a scene that like says who they are. Right? Bacon, egg, and cheese. A scene that doesn't necessarily propel the story forward is a great scene because it feels authentic. That's improv of them, goofing around. And you're like, and it's funny because it's charming. And like, I remember listening, like, are they saying you're heard? You're what's going on there? And like, what's this bacon, egg, and cheese? And like, I feel like an old person saying,
I do too, but I'm also like, I know that,
that.
like, there's so many things I'm like, I'm a Donatello guy. He's always been my favorite turtle.
Yeah.
And I don't know much about anime, but I totally get that Donatello would dig this, right?
Yeah.
Or like they would talk like that. Like I'm 40. I don't think I should get it all, right? Like I really shouldn't understand all this stuff. But like they're supposed to be kids. They're characters of teenage right in the title. They should have that energy to it.
Yeah, no, I feel so lucky I feel now, I mean, more so even now after I'm getting to direct a short, is how lucky I am to be a part of this, and for me, it's a full circle thing. And I've told this story to a few people. It's like, I literally, let me get this. Hold on a second.
Please, yeah. Oh,
God,
wow. Okay, so this is a
issue
audio-only
number
podcast.
1.
He's showing me an issue 1
I've,
of...
of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that I got at the comic book shop called Comics and Fantasies. It's no longer there. At Princeton Plaza in San Jose. I had to take the bus, like back when kids take the bus, to the comic book shop
I love
and
that.
saw this oversized crazy comic, which is a send up of Frank Miller. That logo, the Turtles, is Ronin, which is a Frank Miller comic that I collected.
Oh,
And the
wow.
style, the cross-hatching style, is literally what the Ronin cover art looked like on one of the issues. And so that's why I got into it. And then now, that was when I was 14, maybe
Sure.
something like that. And then I got to be like the head of cinematography for the feature film Mutant Mayhem, and I got to direct this short. Like, how? Like, come on! Like, that's great. That's a dream come true, right? And and to hear the response on it, it's been extraordinary. Like, it really has been an extraordinary journey. I never would have predicted. I literally, when I got the job, I thought, oh, this is great. I get an opportunity to direct, and maybe a few people will see this, and hopefully it's good. I don't want to make a bad short, but I didn't think I would have actual articles written in IndieWire and the Wrap and like Polygon, like really all these like entertainment websites are writing about a short film, not about a feature, but
Yeah.
about a short film, which hasn't even really come out yet. It's coming out this week, and like the amount of press that we've had about it I get it that like maybe there is for sure publicity about it, but it takes an interest.
Yeah.
They see the short and then they say, yes, I want to write an article about it. And to have it be timely, like you get into this whole thing of why do you make films? That you want to have something to say, and to have a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles short have something timely to say, I think that's highly unusual in
Yeah.
some ways, And so I think it's a very unlikely conversation that you and I are having. The article in Polygon is a great example of this thing that we made last year. We were finishing the CG last year at this time, and we were lamenting the fact it wasn't coming out last year. We're like,
Mm.
oh, I wonder if this is going to be a year late. Maybe we're going to be late to the party on AI. And if anything, it's just grown
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
expanded beyond entertainment. I think last year was mostly entertainment because of all these video and image generation software. But now the conversation has gotten so much bigger. And I think I was blown away by the response to the teaser, the trailer. Like, that's nothing. We had a 30-second trailer for a 7.5-minute short, but the response online really was very validating in that the stance we took for those who got it resonated. And for those who didn't get it, which I understand if they didn't, was like, oh, did they sell out to ChatGPT? Was sort of the funny, thing that I saw online. Like,
I saw that too, and I was like, just wait till you see it.
yeah, the debate was interesting to me because, again, that was the nexus of authenticity versus selling out versus like not my turtles. Like, all those things came together in this weird Venn diagram of thought, and I found it to be fascinating. I found it to be interesting, and I actually liked it. I was like, great, people are talking about it and debating whether or not a fictitious character would do something. And that's okay. Like, that shows that people really are passionate about it. And that's great. That's fantastic.
Tell me when this came on the horizon for you, like how a short came about, how you came to direct it, if you know all the ins and outs of that part.
Well, the honest to God truth on the short was that I heard rumors that the studio was interested in a short. And part of the reason was after the strikes, there was a delay in the release. So there was going to be at the time, no Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem 3D stuff until 2026 at the time. And that there was concern that we were going to miss the boat, that like people would forget about them.
Yeah.
And I had heard this, and I'm like, and all I could think was, no one does shorts anymore. Like, it's a nice thought, but shorts cost money, and they're not going to be able to afford it.
Even Pixar doesn't do them consistently anymore.
Yeah, I think even Pixar, like, exactly, they basically stopped doing them, right? And because they're financially not helpful to anybody, right?
Yeah.
And so there was that was happening, and then the crew, like maintaining a crew of people both at Mikros and on the home front on Paramount, was becoming financially challenging because there was delays in the story because of the strike and the script and the storyboarding process and changes. And so I think it became the amalgamation of all those concerns allowed them to, and the toy company. The toy company was concerned. Like, they're like, what do we do about, and toys are such a big part of the
Yeah.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles universe that's also a part of the conversation where they're like, Playmates did great with Mutant Mayhem. They wanted to continue that run. And they were worried that if there was nothing new, that people would lose interest.
I mean,
So
it's
all
over
of those,
years now, right?
yeah,
So yeah.
all of those things came together, and they scraped the money together to, one, keep crew available for the for the sequel feature, and two, keep it in the zeitgeist, and three, like, keep the toy company moving along and keep us, as a product, which you don't like talking about, but it's actually very Turtles to say this, is, like, going. And that's how the short gets approved. In the meantime, I almost had to leave the studio because they couldn't afford to really keep me around, because unless I was like working on something.
Mm.
And so that kept me at Paramount. Like, I almost had to leave, not because anyone wanted me to, but because there was everything was staffed up at that point for other projects. And so the timing of it just worked out. And to be honest, Ramsey Naito, the head of the studio at the time, and Mark Bakshi, the head of physical production, were both in my corner. And they both wanted me to direct and believed in me. And these things don't happen unless a lot of people get on board.
Sure.
That's the honest to God truth. They got on board. Point Grey, Seth Rogen's company, James Weaver, Seth Rogen, Evan Goldberg, and Lucas Williams all got on board. And also importantly, like, Jeff Rowe and Ramsey McBean said, yeah, we think Kent can do it. And so unless you have all those parties agree that I can do it, I don't get on that short. They give it to somebody else. So having never directed, that's a big leap of faith to make. There's a big difference between being a head of a department, even if it's a creative head, to actually directing. And unless you've done it, it's a risk. That's the thing that people have to understand about, wanting to direct, is it's always a risk. You may be a great head of story, but nothing says you're going to be a great director.
Sure.
That's a bigger responsibility. And same for my position. I'm the head of cinematography. It doesn't mean I'll be great at directing. And so there was a leap of faith taken by a lot of people that I could do it. And I owe them all. I really do. And I recognize that a lot of luck and timing went into me getting this nod. It could have easily not gone my way. And I'm very grateful for it. That this opportunity came up when it did, and the timing worked out. Like, all of the near misses throughout my career led to this moment to get this one win, and I'm so grateful for it.
Here's a question for you. So, like, when you do an original animated short, like, say, some Pixar thing or Boundin' or whatever, like, you have to build all this new stuff for this world.
Right,
Is it
right.
more cost effective to, like, have something where a lot of the assets are already available, like for this? Like, it was a lot of it built already, right?
I would say yes, 100%. I mean, not only do you have the assets built, you have the basic look figured out.
Sure.
You have so many questions answered. The personality, the characterizations of the main characters are figured out.
Yeah.
Like, there's a huge amount of things. We're standing on the shoulders of Mutant Mayhem. If Mutant Mayhem didn't exist, how would we have created the whole art style? Now, granted, there are things that are unique about the movie, the short, that we had to figure out. It's not like it's all figured out. I mean, I think one of the more interesting things that was a challenge for us was the metallic surfaces. Like, so CG does metallic surfaces great, but they all look photoreal or kind of CG. But to do a stylized version of reflective surfaces is something that's a challenge. It's a new challenge for this franchise. So, like, when you see the character of Chrome Dome, how does metal look on a main character that has to look chromy or stainless steel like? That is a new problem in our show style. Like, and not only that, the whole factory interior is stainless steel, essentially. How do we make that look right? And how do we make the character stand out from that? That's a new challenge that we didn't face on Mutant Mayhem that we had to solve. So,
I know.
like,
How did you
even all
solve it?
that stuff.
What was the key to that?
The key was actually, again, I go back to, we had this partnership with Mikros.
Okay.
And Mikros was able to say, okay, if we do reflections, this is how we're going to make it look drawn. And then we'll have it creep over the surface by using special tools and techniques that we've got developed to make sure it still looks hand drawn or scribbly in a way. And so they did a lot of testing to make that surfacing look right. And there were times where he said, it looks too CG, or, it doesn't quite look metallic enough. And so they had to thread that balance between the character of Chrome Dome itself. How does he move? It's impossible. What he does, it's so much cheating. The joints are all crashing and interpenetrating, but you have to find the way. Like, this is where Jacques and Simone are so great, and like figuring out how to move the character so we can hide all of the things that are broken, so quote unquote, but still make them look solid. It's like one of the inspirations for Chronom is Tars from Interstellar. Tars is a totally broken character at times. Like, it can't do some of the things it does, but you buy it. You buy that character because they do it in a way that hides the magic trick works, right? And so a lot of what we do in CG animation is a magic trick where you're don't look here, but look here, and like we're hiding the faults of what's happening in the scene. And I think that's one of the magics of doing, animation, is doing those things, and but still making him feel solid. He still feels completely solid metal. Like, and
heavy
totally. And dense. You don't feel like he's squashing and stretching.
Clunky, like he feels like a mess. Like,
he's a bit of a mess.
The funny part, and this is true of the fake turtles and him, is like the kind of the charm of it is that it's poor design, right? It's fully realized, poorly designed.
Yes, fully realized, poor design. Exactly.
Yeah,
like it's like they had all the money, but they made this.
Yeah, they do. It's like that Homer Simpson car, right? It's that's what you came up. That's what you did with all your money. Like this. This is it. Like
this is it, right? Yeah. And that's the comedy of it, right?
Yeah.
It works on a lot of, like, ultimately what you want is the comedy to work on every level.
Yeah.
Right. There's the initial read that's comedic in the moment, but then you want to be able to give the audience this idea that there's so much thought put into every aspect of it that they want to see it again, and that they get a second joke. Like, you think about you point out the design. It's an expensive product that's poorly designed. Right.
Yeah.
But it's, then how do you make that? Like, this is where Woodrow is such a genius. Like, he's so great at combining, like, we gave him all these, because we had two designs. We actually had an original design. I don't know if you read this, but like, we had a design that we signed off on, and it was fine. Like, and I use the word fine. It was good. Like, like, it was a good design. We all liked it.
What did it look like?
It looked kind of like in RoboCop 2. There's another robot cop that's like kind of clunky, and it's stop motion, and he walks, not Ed 209, but there's another one. It kind of looks like that robot meets a Cylon meets a mech kind of. It's big and bulky, and it looked a little bit more like the original Chrome Dome from the series, because his shape looked a little bit more samurai-ish, like a robot samurai kind of thing. And it was cool, but it didn't say anything more. And like, I think it was Jeff who pulled us aside and said, look, we can do better. We can do something more, and he used the word iconic, and something more uncanny. And he pointed us to The Keep by Michael Mann, the 80s film The Keep. And then I combine it's like a vampire film. And there's a crazy vampire that's called Radu Malazar. It looks like a statue. Kind of works. He walks around. He's got this red eyes and glowing red mouth, and it's just crazy looking thing. Okay. So Radu Malazar became like the touchstone. And then I said, Woodrow, if we're gonna go iconic, for me, like the most iconic recent robot that I've seen is Tars. I was so taken by Tars in Interstellar. I thought it was a great robot. And then he brought to the table, so the face looks kind of like Radu Malazar, except it's a screen. And he took inspiration from the 80s graphic artist Patrick Nagel.
Okay.
And so if the line work is like inspired by Patrick Nagel, and then the alternating chrome or metal and black stripes are from the original Chrome Dome from the series, and some of the color, like there's red and blue lights because there's red and blue on Chrome Dome. I can see Chrome Dome in your room there.
Yeah. That's the light one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another one down there. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a little Mayan futurism in it. It's all these things recombined into like the design of Chrome Dome. And I think that's what makes it so cool. I'm so glad we did it. I think this is where Jeff is a genius. Is like he wasn't satisfied. And when you have a producer on who says we should do better, it inspires you to do better on every aspect. And like that is as much as it's challenging, because we were supposed to turn it like we're supposed to send it to Mikros. We actually sent it to Mikros. They started. We're like, hold on a second, pump the brakes. We're gonna spend another week, and then ended up being 2 weeks redesigning. And we had to have this brainstorming session, and it was Tiffany Lamb, who's the production designer for the feature, a sequel, and she was art director on the first movie, who did this little sketch on a whiteboard that ended up being the inspiration that we all then what happened was then she did this sketch. It was like a trapezoid with a square in the middle with a face in it, and then Woodrow drew on top of it. Jeff drew on top of it. Next, thing you know, it became the basis of Chrome Dome. Like that's like the thing when you get all these people together, and why it's so human. How we came up with this this design. Like it was like a brainstorming session that we came into, and we were just throwing ideas against a wall, and it really worked. And like it was super fun. It was
Well, it
really
makes sense too,
cool.
because like, the original Chrome Dome is like, part samurai warrior, but also kind of like a metal shredder in a way.
Yeah, yeah,
So
he's
you
a
got to
metal shredder. Yeah,
separate him from that
yeah.
because there's no shredder yet.
Yeah, right,
So yeah, that
right.
makes
So
sense.
so there's this idea of like how do we relate it to AI? There's all of that stuff came
Mm.
back, and it's just being more pointed and being more specific. And the thing I'll say about Jeff, the mantra he kept coming back to me with is, what's the unconventional choice? Go for the unconventional choice. And that was a big mantra for us on the show, was to find the unconventional choice all the time. Like, what is the unconventional acting choice, or what is the unconventional design choice? Like all of those. What's the unconventional story choice? Like trying to break that mold. I think even the concept of like a movie where we're making fun of toys that are knockoffs of the turtles is an unconventional choice. Like
Yeah.
like you're literally making fun of toys for the purpose of selling toys. That kind of like that's kind
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
weird irony that's built into the paradox of the short, And so there's all of that that's sort of inside of the movie, and it gives it a richness that I think is deceiving. Like I think most people would say, "Oh, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles." That's it's just going to be a bunch of turtles, and they get into fights, and they say cowabunga, or they like pizza, and like they have a vision of it that's maybe lowbrow. But I think you can take that stuff and use it as a vehicle to say something. And it wasn't like we started off with exactly that. We didn't know that was what it's going to be. We just ended up finding that way of getting there. We just found a way to get there, and that was a rewrite. We had a version of the film which was less AI,
Mm.
and it was more about the toys. The way that the turtles beat Chrome Dome was the toys each had a specific action they could do, and they took inspiration from the action. But then you're like, so we defeat AI by using the AI ideas, and it didn't quite make sense, and it was
Sure.
like it was fun, and like it was funny, but it wasn't quite right. And we had a screening, and for the executives, and that's the first screening is a big one, because that's, in my mind, this is the one where I'm gonna get fired. If I don't put up a good first screening, I'm gonna get canned.
Sure.
And so like you're getting there knowing this. If you've done animation long enough, that's the way it works. Like if you put up a bad first screening, you could get canned.
Sure.
And we put up a screen, and it went well when they had like 3 or 4 notes, not many notes. They're like, "Oh, great, here are the notes, go make it." And then that weekend, that week after, like the 2 days after it, we're like, we have to rewrite it. And then that weekend, like Jeff and Andrew went back and brainstormed and came up with a new idea. And then we told the studio after, "Oh, we're going to rewrite it. I know you like what you saw, but we're going to totally change it." And they were, to their credit, okay with it.
Mm.
They said, "Okay." We sent them the script, and you know how it is. Like a first draft script isn't great,
Sure.
and so for a good couple of months, it wasn't better, but it had the potential to be better.
Mm.
And I think that's another testament to Ramsey Naito, Mark Bakshi, and the studio, was that they were willing to go with us on that journey. They were willing to say, I'm sure to them, they're like, I don't know, but these guys will always figure it out, so we'll let them figure that out. And they did. They let us figure it out. And sometimes it takes a little while before it gets there, but when it got there, it really turned. And what happened was, by making it more about AI, everyone that worked on it added just a little bit more, just
Hmm.
a little bit of their perspective on it. The sound, it went everywhere. It was like the design, the animation, the sound design, even the music, like all of it worked to create a better story. The writing, of course, like it all got more focused. And that focus created a much better movie. And I'm so grateful that we were able to do it, that we were allowed to do it. And we were allowed to let it gestate long enough to come up with the final film. but it took a while. You had to really trust the process. And was nervous. I had many sleepless nights where I'm like, it's not better yet. It's not better yet. And it kept me up because in this day and age, if you get to direct once, that might be the only time you get to do it. And so you don't want your only time directing making something mediocre. And so it was a little, when something has potential, you can buy it. You buy the potential. But when it's done, that's what it is. And so in the middle of working on it, I'm like, it still has potential. It still has potential. We have to realize that potential. And I think it's that pursuit of the potential of what it could be was driving all of us. All the way up, like the funniest thing in the film is the backstory. And
oh my gosh, his origin story is fantastic.
The origin story wasn't what we had.
Just like the design, right? It's like fantastically bad.
Fantastically bad, right? So like, I appreciate you saying that. I don't want to say it's fantastic because I worked on it, but like, it wasn't what we had. We didn't have that.
Really?
We were in fact, we had a different backstory that was like Archibald Mirthmaker was the head of the company, and he invented the Macintosh, which was Chrome Dome, like invented Chrome Dome, which was a Macintosh, essentially. It was a screen, just his face and a keyboard. And eventually there's a fire that destroyed the factory, and he becomes sentient, he rebuilds himself, and he wants to take over the world. It was like a literal backstory. And it was okay. It was funny. And actually the board artist, John Jackson, did a fantastic job. It was too good because it was too good for us to like really throw it out. I felt really attached to it. And like even Archibald Mirthmaker was like this Steve Jobs character almost. And it was Jeff again, is like, I don't know if this is working. It's not that funny. Do we maybe just cut it entirely? And we're getting close to a week before recording Zach Woods for the last time.
Oh wow.
And it was Ramsey McBean, the producer, who says, you know what you should do? You should just have him be AI and make up a backstory where he just steals everything. And I was like, that's it. That's a genius. And so I go to Andrew Joustra, and I like, who's like the biggest Comic-Con fan. Like he knows all the fans. I'm like, go write this thing. He goes back and he writes a great one. And at first it's all Marvel stuff. I'm like, no. Open it up. It's got to be everything.
Yeah.
And so he goes and he makes this amazing thing that's everything. And then he gives that to story artist Joe Johnston. And Joe starts adding little things into it that make it even funnier. Like he combines there's a Thanos character that's combined with Handsome Squidward meets the Na'vi meets Dr. Manhattan. So like they're all sort of like together in one character. And then that goes to Garrett Lee, the art director, who's painting, which is now super appropriate. There's a scene at Pride Rock, right?
Yeah.
The most iconic, sort of landscape.
I didn't even connect that to right now. That's
it's
so
Pride
funny.
Rock, right? And at Pride Rock, there's Chrome Dome, and he is like out there, and it's like there's like instead of the wildlife of Lion King, it's like other characters that are other like IP.
Oh no, my favorites. I mean, to call them out, like there's like they're all like parody, but there's like Tony the Tiger, Toucan Sam, the Pink Panther, Big Bird. Like there's so many like all just knockoffs.
The Mucinex and critters in there. Like
is that
like
one? I couldn't figure out what that green guy.
Everyone thinks it's Shrek, right? But it's like the Mucinex. Like these things. Like so, what Garrett did was he added corporate mascots. And so like that took it to another level where like we had the IP, like the standard Comic-Con IP, but then to expand it to like corporate mascots and really make it about corporate America also and like they're so digitized and crazy looking that they're different enough, but it's amazing. It's like how few pixels do you need to describe something that's recognizable? Smokey Bear is there, like that kind of nonsense. There's so much nonsense in the image that like it's just over the top, right? And so everyone's adding, and then in that scene, like Mark Mangini added like there's Godzilla's in it. He added the Godzilla sound effect in there, and then when Randolph the White, as I like to call him, gets knocked off of Pride Rock, we threw in the Wilhelm scream because of course that's where you would have the Wilhelm scream as he falls off. Like it's all these things that you're adding up to like what it finally becomes, right? And like everyone's adding to it, even this in sound design, the mix. So we had you had Mark Mangini come up with these great sound effects to add to it. Like he put the TIE fighter sound effect for the spaceship, which is TIE fighter mashed with an X-wing, essentially. And even in the mix, like the sound's big. And then when it comes out of his face, we actually switched the sound to sound like it's coming from a small speaker. So like that's in the mix. Like so like it like he's selling it like nobody's business when you're in his face, but when you come out, it betrays it. It betrays the lie, right?
Yeah.
So all this adds up, and even the score during it is Disaster Piece is the composer. He's great.
Okay.
And he did like 4 versions of it. The poor guy, like, because I kept like, I don't think this is working yet, and he kept trying different things. And I finally went to him, and he's great. It wasn't because they were bad; they were great. They just weren't right for the piece, and it was because I couldn't describe what I wanted, which is a fault of mine as first time director. And I finally figured out what it was he believes the lie, and the score is his score that's selling it. So if he was AI, what score would he choose? And it's like, of course, it's Hans Zimmer. Like it's his version of Hans Zimmer, who's an amazing composer, but like it's a ripoff of Hans Zimmer.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's like a bad version of it. And so he created this bombastic score with big drums and like, or there's even a like operatic, like it's an operatic part when they go to like Pride Rock, and like where it's like you can hear it, or when it goes to space, there's a brief period of violins going to make it sound like a space movie, like little things he's doing to like create the sound. Like that's where every department's adding to it. Like it's just and Wiz, who's the company who did all the 2D in the first movie, Gary Levesque, he did the backstory for us in this one in this style that Garrett Lee the art director came up with, which is inspired by so Monty Python cutout animation meets Nintendo N64, which is sort of that's what he came up with.
Oh yeah, I
That's
can
the
see it
thing.
for sure.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, so like all of that is everybody doing something a little bit more than what we would have done. Like it's and all these choices are like again like a little bit unconventional in there, and that created a much stronger sort of piece. And then the final straw. I mean, of course, you have Zach Woods, whose delivery is fantastic. Like he gets excited at the right times. He's bombastic at the right times, and just like his delivery is fantastic. Just really great.
As a director, do you voice direct those guys?
Yeah. On this one with Zach, Jeff took the lead on that. Jeff
Okay.
Rowe took the lead on that. I was in the room. We would talk about it together.
Sure.
But yes, you're absolutely talking about what's going on in the scene and what's happening, and you do several takes of things. You're trying different. He improvs things as well, and then you're trying to, while he's doing it, you're thinking, is that the take I want? You want to make sure you get everything, especially the last time you record. You're like, this is it. I don't get them another time. So you're trying to ensure that you're getting everything you need, so that when you go back into edit, you've got the pieces, and so you can piece it together in the manner that you want and build it in the sort of get the range that you want on it. Because like asking actors to go big, you can't ask them to do that so many times before they lose. It's just hard. It's a performance, right? So you have to be very aware of what you're asking the actor to do to make sure that they can hold back when they need to hold back and go big when they need to go big.
Did you direct the kids?
I had some opportunities to direct the kids. Yeah. So the first few, rightfully so, were piggybacked onto the feature. So
Makes sense.
Jeff just went right into it.
Yeah, because
But
they're
then-
there. Yeah, it's hard to
But then
schedule.
after that, there was a period in which Jeff got very busy with the sequel, of course, because he's directing the sequel, in which we had pickups, because we had several recordings where I would do the pickups with the kids, and it was really fun. It was great, and they're great. The kids are great, or I keep calling them kids, but they're
I know.
not really
I
kids.
did it too. I'm sorry.
They're professional actors who bring a lot to the table, and a lot of what you do is try to stay out of their way. Like you want to allow them to interpret the material and be authentic to the moment, and they come up with stuff all the time that you just wouldn't have come up with. And so you want to make sure that they have the room to do all that stuff.
I interviewed Andrew Joustra, the screenwriter, yesterday. He told me to ask you about the scene where they're breaking into the headquarters of the toy company.
Yeah. So that scene, so when we started, one of the things that Jeff said to me is there's a big tonal shift here in the movie, and you don't have much time to make it work, right? You go from like comedic, funny to like serious. We're breaking in. It's a suspense film. It's like a break-in suspense film. And so I took a lot of inspiration from Panic Room, David Fincher's film.
Okay.
The company I worked for at the time that Panic Room was made, we worked on it. I actually did work a little bit on Panic.
Oh, cool.
And there's a shot which we called the big shot, which is the shot that describes when the burglars break into Jodie Foster's house, and it's shot from the inside. Like they see the car pull up, they come out, they look in the window, and then the camera's continuous, and then he goes to the back. that tries the lock is locked. He goes up, and the camera goes through this, the banisters up to this top, and you see them break in. Right, it's all one shot. And I wanted to do a similar shot where we show the break-in from the inside. And you let the dialogue carry you through this break-in. And of course, the shot's multiple minutes in Panic Room. We have seconds to do it.
Sure.
But in the context of the movie, it's a standout because it's the longest shot in the movie that we've got, and one of the longest shots in the movie.
Yeah.
And you're watching a break-in from the inside. That concept in a continuous take is intact. And at one point, we couldn't afford it in the movie, to put it in the movie. And Mikro said, we can't afford to do that shot. But I kept it in the back burner, and I kept it alive, and I knew I was going to come back for it. And I was able to come back for it after basically sort of trading horses later in the sort of process. And that's part of the experience of making movies, is you learn sometimes you've got to give up at certain points and come back and get it later. And in order to get it later, you have to marshal all the resources, whether it's the studio to say, hey, this shot's important to me. It's also important to you. How do you feel about it? And to get the Mikros as a company who's like trying to make their budget, how do we find ways to get them to be able to do this shot? And is there more money in the budget somewhere else where we can afford to do it, and all those things? But if we didn't have that shot, I think it would be a very big tonal shift that wouldn't have been successful. And so that shot was super challenging to get done. And it was one of the, like we were almost through animation, and they came back and did that shot.
I mean, everything changes there, right? You go from like them chilling and talking and like watching television and looking at toys, to suddenly you're in an action thriller.
They're in an action thriller, and they're in their ninja outfits. Like it's it's a different movie. At that point, it's nighttime, so like you need enough time, even though it's a short and the pacing is super fast. You have to allow the audiences to catch up, and that shot is super, in my opinion, super necessary for the audience to catch up. And now they're on. By the time they land in the factory, we're on board with them.
Yeah,
And
I mean, like, it is an action franchise too, as much as the comedy's comedy forward. But like, you still want to satisfy that. Like, you need a good fight scene, which you deliver too.
Right. And one of the things about that shot is that Ramsey Naito, the studio head, said before we had that shot, she said it's too easy. They just get into the factory. It should be a little more, and she used the phrase Mission Impossible. And we're like, then there should be like some kind of lasers. And so that's why there's lasers sort of across the top.
So ridiculous. I love
prevent them from getting it. But it's like so over the top, right? They break in and they somehow duck through the lasers, and they're on the floors. Like that's the the thing that helps sort of tell that whole story in there. So yeah.
Is there anything to say about the fight sequence between them and Chrome Dome?
Yeah, it's a fight in two parts. It's like two acts. It's a 2-act fight. The first act is them not being successful, right? And that fight was inspired by James Cameron's first Avatar film. Oh. And in that, one thing we did was, I noticed in that film, like, the action scenes are great. And one of the things he does is he does these heightened reality, like they're almost slow motion, but they don't slow the sound down. Like the sound, if you watch, like they'll be running through Pandora, and there's like a robot, like there's a mech following them, and like he's like the mech, Stephen Lang's mech throws a hand down, and then Jake Sully's avatar jumps over, but the jump all of a sudden is a little bit like hang time's more, and then he lands and he keeps going. And so I wanted to do at least something of that, and we do it in one shot, in which there's a big oneer in which all the turtles attack Chrome Dome, and Donnie flips over Chrome Dome, and then Chrome Dome flips over Donnie. And when Chrome Dome's in the air, it's a heightened moment where the sound doesn't change, but his hang time is way longer than it would have been. And we have that moment have to happen just to like be evocative of those things, to like give you a sense of like, oh, this robot is really agile and can do all these things. And so in that fight, that's like the traditional fight where it's pretty spectacular. You see a lot of great smearing of the sword as it swings by. Like if you stop on a frame, like the sword's bending crazy in a curve, and like there's like things coming off of it. It's really, really fun. So that
I'm
fight
a big
is like,
fan of the old Warner Brothers, and I love seeing the in-between.
the smears all over the place is great. And they get their butts kicked in that fight. And then the second fight's the comedic fight, is the one where we called. So we had, that's the predictive learning fight. And the second fight we called Monkey See, Monkey Do. because it's when the turtles figure out there's the unconventional strategy to defeat Chrome Dome. It's a comedic fight. It's them doing something. It's beating the Chrome Dome with comedy, in a sense. And at first we were like, it's like the Three Stooges, but nobody knew. All the people that we talked to about Three Stooges, nobody knew it was too old. Like so.
Oh, that breaks my heart. That really
Yeah,
breaks
it
my
was.
heart.
It,
I
like,
can't.
I remember, so we were like, well, that doesn't quite work. But it's like this idea of like, what kind of stupid things could they do
Sure.
that would trip up Chrome Dome? And it was the story team that came up with a lot of these things. The story team, like, it was Jacob Stryland, it was Gabe Lynn, it was all these guys that came up with these ideas on like what he could do. And we always knew we'd end with Leo going into his shell because we knew that was funny.
Sure.
And so that that was a remnant of the first version of it. It was called shell retraction action. So like his toy was going to be able to like put himself inside his shell.
Oh,
Like,
cool. Is there anything
so-
else that, like, this is what, 7 minutes long?
Yeah.
Is there anything else that was cut for time or anything else?
There was a lot. My biggest regret. So here's my biggest regret. When he says we're going to Jersey, we cut, right? And everyone's just like, we're going to Jersey, and everyone should laugh. And then we have this scene, and in the scene, there's a rat on top of this can, the aerosol can, and then then the can goes off and it goes away, and then the sewer lid opens up. Well, most people don't realize that can is spray tan. It's a spray tan can. So it's like New Jersey. So you have the sirens going, you have the gunshots, and then you have spray tan. No one reads the spray tan. And I knew it. We spent all this money on the shot because we had to bring the rat back from movie 1. So it's an expensive shot. Like we got charged extra.
That's the same rat, right?
Or I think it might be Splinter's friend. It's like one of the rats.
Right.
Yeah,
okay, sure.
it's like one of the rats, right? But it cost so much money to bring that rat back, and we kept cutting the shot shorter and shorter that it lost that last punch of comedy. It's still funny, but it's not as funny. And right before the holidays, I had Sanjana, one of the boarders, reboard it, say, "Hey, what would you do to make this funnier?" And what she did was, the shot was longer, but it starts off and the rat isn't in the shot, and you clearly see the can of spray tan on, like, sitting there, and then the rat comes on, gnaws on the spray tan. The spray tan sprays him in the face, and his face goes orange, and he keels over in this kind of funny face. But then his leg twitches, so you know he's still alive.
Sure.
And then the can comes up, and then the sewer lid goes up.
Yeah.
And that would have been great. I would have loved to have done that other version of it, but we just didn't have time and money to do it. Part of it was I thought I was told we're going to get it when we come back from the holidays. But when we came back from the holidays, the fires in LA were happening, and like nobody, like, you can't blame anybody. Like the fires are happening. People are just trying to survive, and unbeknownst to us, the Technicolor, the parent company of Micros, was about to declare bankruptcy. So there was no way they were going to do us a favor on this thing. Like they couldn't, right? So there was no way. The odds were against us. So that got cut. And to this day, that's the one shot that I'm like, oh my gosh, we spent so much money. I wish we just had more time. I always say, if we had 20 more seconds, the short would be so much better. But we just, but that's the thing about movie making. Like, that's what, one of the great things about it is it's you can't go back. Like it's done. Like and it's done forever that way. And you take everything with it. You take the good and the bad, and that's just the way. That's part of the process that you have to accept.
So I mean, as much as I'm a Turtle fan, and I like everything. I like The Last Ronin. I like the Mirage Run. Yeah. I like funny Turtles. I feel like because I grew up on the '87 cartoon, so to me, I like the funny stuff. And so like the thing I think I'm probably most excited about in this is that first 30 seconds to a minute where they're in that winter gear. I love seeing them in that winter gear. I guess my question is there, so you direct them in those clothes?
Yes.
And then you direct them as the turtle. And this is the Ninja Turtles, right? And the bandanas and all that stuff. Is there a difference or some sort of technological difference in having to direct them in sweaters and things like that?
I mean, I think that you end up noting things like if the sweater looks weird or if the coat doesn't flap right. And that goes into the rigging and the cloth sim of it all. I think their expressions read differently. So like you'll still
because they don't have eyebrows.
Yeah. So you end up directing them the same, but the solutions may be different. That's more of a technical thing on the micro side. I will add this, that the design of the clothes was done by Garrett Lee, and he was very specific about it. Like, there's a reason why Raph is wearing kind of a Nikes-ish hoodie, sporty hoodie, and Mikey has the crazy sweater that has the word "ho" on it with the with the Christmas tree, and then of course Leo trying to be an adult wearing a pea coat, trench coat kind of thing,
Yeah.
like a traditional thing
They're all
like
very
that.
character
And
specific. Yeah.
yeah, and Donnie's wearing the puffer. Like they're all very specific, and I think Garrett really captured their personalities in their wardrobe. And I'm so amazed that the toy company Playmates made the winter versions and the messed up Tortoise Karate Warriors with Jules Itzkoff's packaging design and logo on it. It's crazy.
Those
That's what
toys are, I mean, how much of a thrill is that? Like, because you have a 7-minute short, right? And you'd think, like, it's such a unique thing to have toys from that. Like, what a
Oh,
cool thing.
it's unbelievable to me
Yeah.
that I mean, I don't know how many shorts can say that. Like, literally have
I'm trying
a
to think. I
set
can't think of one.
a set of toys that are specific to the short film I made. Like, I literally have them now. I have the toys, like of the short, and they're still gonna make. I think they're still gonna make Chrome Dome. Like, you're gonna be able to
Ooh,
buy
that'd
Chrome
be cool.
Dome, which
Sure.
is a cool character, to have that one. That hasn't come out yet, but I think they're making that one. I've seen the prototype. The prototype Chrome Dome is in the commercial.
I said the
So, like,
commercial is just the toys. It's just
yeah,
Yeah.
which is also a tradition of like having a live action commercial, again, an unconventional choice, and having the brothers Chaps make it of Homestar Runner fame, make the short would make the commercial was great.
Oh, I didn't
Those
know
guys.
that.
Yeah, it's the brothers Chaps. In fact, because there's very specific rules on like what you can do from a live action standpoint. Like, I had to be hands off. Like, I couldn't and because they're so good, I could be hands off and they could just
Sure.
go shoot it. And they dealt directly with the toy company, got the prototypes and shot the commercial. We essentially bought a commercial from them is what we did. So, but that was all part of it. Like part of the process, the journey of making the short was trying to be scrappy and finding ways where we can make the budget work. Even though you would think, oh, Turtles, you have a good budget, which we did, but like it's Moore's law. Like, you always work to the limits of what you have. Like, you always want to go beyond the limits of what you're given. So.
Are you also working on Mutant Mayhem too?
Yes. I'm back to the head of the cinematography job, which I love. It's a fun job.
Sure.
And so I loved directing. It was probably the most fun I've had in like 15 years. Directing the short, like professionally, but I still love my job. And I think doing the shorts made me better at my job now. Like,
That's
I have
awesome.
a lot more. It gives you more perspective about the things that Jeff's going through. I can be more helpful to him. I interpret his notes in a different way, and I think it gives me a little bit more. It definitely gave me more maturity and a broader, bigger picture. And I think every time you have a bigger picture of what's going on, you make better choices. So like that's good for me. So you learn, you keep learning.
My last question for you is, and I asked this of everybody, is who's your favorite turtle and why?
Oh, my favorite turtle is Raph.
Okay.
And Raph reminds me of my son. That's why. Like, it's funny. My son, probably in middle school, was more like Donnie. My son is a robotics engineering and mechanical engineering major right now, and he's about to graduate. And so at some time he was pretty nerdy. He was really into Legos, super into Legos, like just loved working on Legos, and which is great. I think that's a great toy for kids.
Absolutely.
Fantastic toy. And when he got to high school and COVID happened, he got into weightlifting, and he just really rebuilt, like transformed over the course of COVID into like his physique changed. And like, I think he maybe overcorrected into that side, became more like Raph. So like, he reminds me, because he's, like his excitement and how, Raph's the bigger guy and sort of, feels like he's roided out. Not that my son's on roids, but like, just like there's this persona about Raph that reminds me of my son. And so I also liked Raph from the original Teenage Mutant, because he was the most Frank Miller. He was the most Wolverine of all of the characters in the first Eastman and Laird version. And so I loved the Frank Miller Wolverine and the Frank Miller Dark Knight and Ronin. So, he, of course, the Daredevil Elektra stuff was great from him. So anything that reminds me of Frank Miller, I really like.
Well, I mean, since you were a fan since the very beginning with the comic, like, he was the first, I feel like he was the first turtle that Eastman and Laird figured out.
Yeah, I think so. He was the first personality, real personality that was there. But I think that makes sense because he's the most like Frank Miller characters. Like, his inner monologue was like the things I'm great at what I do, and what I do ain't nice, kind of thing. Like that whole inner monologue that the berserker Wolverine would have about himself.
Well, there's
he
that
had.
great shot of Raph on the corner of the rooftop, and he's talking about how much he hates the sewers, and like there's that whole like thing, like they got him.
Yeah,
The others
yeah.
came later, right?
The
But
others
he's
came.
there right there.
The others came later. I agree. I think he was the
Yeah,
first one that was fully formed. That's an interesting. I never thought of it that way, but it's true, which makes sense,
yeah.
right? From a personality standpoint, like a lot of the Donnie, and even yeah, actually Leo, the leader. You can say Leo's the leader, but Donnie and Mikey, I think, were the latest ones because
Yeah.
the whole techie side and the whole like more creative, cowabunga skateboarding thing for Mikey is a later thing too. Like that wasn't in the original stuff. So yeah, I think all of that developed out of necessity, right? They had to differentiate. Remember, they all had the red bandanas from
Yeah.
when they started, right?
Mhm.
So they didn't even look different. They were actually all kind of the same.
Oh my God, you read those first few issues, it's almost impossible to tell who's talking in any.
Yeah, you can't tell. You can't tell who's who, right? You're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah, until they say Donnie this or
Yeah.
Raph this.
Or
Yeah.
he's holding a sign. You're like, oh,
yeah,
that's
yeah, that's Raph, right. So like, yeah, I think that they out of necessity it's funny to commercialize it. Probably they had to.
I
come
mean,
up
yeah,
with
that was
personas.
part of it. It was part of it. Like that was, I mean, that came about when they got to the toy company and they know they needed to sell
Yeah.
4 different things. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it's the lore and the history of turtles is so fascinating to me in the context of AI too, because AI at the time in 1984, if AI existed in 1984, it would not have invented Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That is like wholly original
Yeah.
human creation. That like it's so absurd that you would never predict that would be successful. No, if you in 1984 when the comic came out, if I told you in 2025 it would still be popular, they'd be making feature films about it still,
Yeah.
I'd be like, yeah, right. No way. Like that's not going to last that long. It's like it's a very specific thing it is. And to have it literally mutate over the years into different things is very human in that sort of way that people have taken it on and made it their own. I think that's great.
I don't think you recognize it. Maybe you did, but I don't think I don't think people who had it when they were little kids recognize this as much. I didn't until much later. But like, if you grew up in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you're used to hearing those words together. But it is a absurd collection of 4 words placed together.
Yes.
It's like
Yes.
a Mad Libs where it's done by 4 different people. It doesn't make any
100%.
sense. So
Doesn't make
like,
sense.
if there's an absurdity to it that like these 4 words represented to anybody with an adult brain or close when they heard it, right?
Yeah.
So like
Like
I think I think we take that for granted if you grow up with the franchise.
Oh yeah, yeah. And it's
Yeah.
funny you should say that because there was a moment where we had a version of the backstory where like he literally like Cronum literally had like a matrix of words that he was putting together. And like as he did it, a different image would come up. And then when he came up with like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or it was like tortoise karate, warrior, tubular tortoise karate. So a tubular had a guy on a surfboard surfing a wave with like sunglasses on. And like tortoise obviously is a turtle with a shell. And then warrior was a guy with like scimitars, and karate obviously was a karate guy, and they all sort of merged together to create, and then different parts stayed. Like we had this whole vector graphics thing that we didn't use that like was him trying to explain how he came up with that. And it was literally like a matrix. It was and there was like a happiness meter that was like with a kid's face that would get happier every time. Then so we had these different
Oh,
varieties.
that's cool.
Yeah.
You hint at that. Like that's one thing I appreciated about it, and that's what my brain went to was like you kind of I forget, I don't remember the exact wording, but he basically Chrome Dome essentially says like this sort of random collection of words
Yes,
placed together.
yeah. The most the awesome collection of words, and it's like tubular, and again, great delivery. This is where like Zach Woods, like he doesn't say, and we didn't tell him to make an echo. We thought we'd just do the reverb in the sound mix, and he literally goes tubular, tortoise, karate, warriors. He actually did the echo in his voicing, and it was so funny. And when he says warriors, it sounds like the warriors from the 1970s film, where the warriors come out and play. It reminded me of that. I think he was ripping from that. Like,
Sure.
So it's like all that kind of crazy stuff that that's where in the acting, you're like, this guy's bringing a lot to the table. He's making the lines, which are funny, even funnier, and that's great. That's the gold that you really hope for when you get a record going. And he was fantastic.
Ken, thanks so much for doing this. For everybody listening, I really encourage you to go check out. It's with the new SpongeBob movie. stick around for that too. I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's great. But this is really cool, and I'm like such a movie guy. Like I love the fact that you're doing a theatrical short at all. So like, I just it's a really awesome thing, and I'm just so excited that you got a chance to do it, and that I hope there's more. Like I hope that the toy companies like make more of these things so we can sell other things. I love this.
Oh, thanks, Brian. And thanks for taking the time to interview me. And thanks for the interest in the short. I really appreciate the word getting out. And I really want a lot of people to see it. Like you make these things because you want it to be seen, and I feel like the message, especially nowadays, resonates with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it's at least it's fun. It's a fun way to talk about AI, and you can poke a little fun at it, a lot of fun at it, and still walk away with a smile on your face. I think that's what we're going for here.
I just love the fact that you guys went the extra mile to like have it say something, right? Like to me, I love Mutant Mayhem, but to me the story thing, like it was what's maybe the most resonant about it is the sort of parallels about family, right? Like Splinter and Superfly kind of have the same philosophy.
Exactly.
And and then like they just came about it different ways, right?
Right.
And that's the smartest thing about that movie. It really, I think, is
they're
like
parallel fathers
Yeah.
who chose different ways to deal with rejection, right?
Yes.
They are shunned from society, and one's like, I'm gonna stay away and keep my boys safe. The other one's like, I'm gonna kill everybody, right?
Yeah.
So like there's like these different philosophies, and I think if you can build that into the story, then it becomes richer. It becomes this other thing. And luckily for us, like this AI thing became that touchstone for us.
That's
and
the
it
thing.
allowed it's an entry point for all the artists that worked on it, and for everyone that did work, all the production people also were like, they're feeling it too. It's not just, like it's affecting almost everyone on some level. And it's all around us now. And like, it feels like something that is, you can't tackle it, right? When I keep reading about existential threats, and I'm like, when you call an existential threat, all it does is take away your agency. It means you can't do anything about it. It's so big, you can't do anything about it. And like, I think rather than call it that, let's take back our agency making things. And if we go about our lives making things that support artists' rights and support each other and support being human, maybe we'll find the right way to go about this. And at least there's a discussion,
That's a much better way to go about it than just a surrender to Skynet, Really.
I don't want to, as I'd like to say, I don't want to live in a dystopian Black Mirror episode.
I'm pretty sure we already do, dude.
I'm trying not to. I'm trying to be an optimist. We'll find a way. Like that's, we'll find a way.
Thank you again. This was great. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate
Take
it.
care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift for Splinter. Gotta get a gift for Splinter. I hate shopping in the winter. But do you get the Ninja Master who has everything? Oh, baby. Gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift for Splinter. Gotta get a gift for Splinter. He's the last one on our list. He's the only one we missed. We gotta get a gift, oh baby. Gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift for Splinter. How about a set of golf clubs? Splinter's not athletic. A bowling ball, some ice skates. You guys are pathetic. Oh, gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift for Splinter. A sweater or a necktie, an electric coffee brewer. How about a go-kart in the sewer, baby? Oh, gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift for Splinter. Does he have a pair of earmuffs? I really can't remember. Next year we are doing all our shopping in September, baby. Gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift for Splinter. Gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift, gotta get a gift for Splinter. Tonight.
I'd just like to point out to you guys that there are only 2 hours of shopping left before Christmas.